All right. Michelle, take it.
All right. So I hope you guys are prepared to be a little woo, because I I don't know, when you open up your mind to things that seem a little crazy, great things just start happening. This weekend has been a whole mind-blowing experience. It just being surrounded by so many people that are doing things at such a big level, but also like the level of vulnerability in that room, um, just made me realize how human people are. Like a lot of times we look up to people and think, wow, they're doing these big, great things. I could never do that. But like at the center of it all, they're just human like us. They're just at a different step in life or a different phase in life than where we're at. And so that was enlightening in general. But um, I promise it's not going to start off all doom and gloom. But to set the stage here, I went into this conference event and had a lot of self-doubt. I mean, these are big players. I am a small fish in a big sea when it comes to these people. They're just doing things at such a high level. Their teams are bigger, not all of them, but I would say probably 90% of the people in that room, their teams are bigger than mine. It's led by people like Spring Bingston and Justin Nilsson, who have a 90-person team and are just doing these phenomenal things. We had speakers like Brandon Birmingham, who has like a net worth of, I don't know, $100 million, something crazy, right? So these are really big people. And at first, I had this extreme imposter syndrome walking into that room. And I actually left on Friday. We had like kind of a mini session on Friday, a full day Saturday, and then a half day on Sunday. And I left that room Friday and I told Kyle, I said, I just don't fit in. I just don't fit in. I'm so like I don't know if I deserve to be here. Like why they even want me here. And that was just looking back, that was like a really pivotal moment. I can look back and say I went into that room with my head down, pretending to be on my phone, dodging people because I didn't feel like I fit in. But when we got to day two and day three, and I really opened up, actually, to be honest, it was people opened up to me and made me feel welcome and loved. And by the end of Sunday, I'm like, I totally deserve to be in this room. So I guess thing one, I would challenge you guys to get really awesome about putting yourself in rooms that make you so uncomfortable that you want to run away. Putting you in rooms that you think you don't belong in. Because when you put yourself in rooms with people who think bigger than you think, it forces you to think bigger and it forces you to just grow and expand your mindset. So if you're comfortable, if you're just putting yourself in rooms that are comfortable, thing one, I would challenge you to find a way to put you into positions that make you so uncomfortable, because that's where the growth happens. But also, I would challenge you to be a little bit humble. We had to be extremely vulnerable. We came into this meeting and we had what we called hot seats on Saturday. I had to come in with my numbers for my team. What are our conversion ratios? Which, by the way, I didn't know because we have not been tracking them as a team correctly. I had to go in with our profit, which is not pretty. I had to go in with our cost of goods sold, essentially like what does it cost us for each listing and buyer. And before we left, Kyle and I are just finagling numbers to figure out like how do we actually find out what it costs. By the way, I figured out it costs us almost $1,000 per listing. I in my head thought before going into this it's $150 for listing sign for not listing signs for pictures. I'm like, oh, it's like a couple $100 max. No, by the time you add in all the support costs behind the scenes, like piecing systems that have to happen, the transaction coordination, all these things, it's almost $1,000 per listing. And that's huge. So having to get vulnerable and be like, our numbers are a mess. Like we're running a nonprofit here was a little bit scary. Um, but there was so much, and I want to do, I haven't talked to Matt and Audra about this, but I really want to do this exercise. Audra and I have talked about doing business planning, and I think we do a business planning session in November that includes hot seats where you guys come with your numbers or what you know of numbers, because there's something enlightening about having other people help you come to like what you can take away and what you can do to improve your business. That was amazing. And it feels so good because you get in these groups of 5 or 6 people and you're looking at each other's numbers. So you're helping other people, which just feels awesome. And then they're helping you. And it really, how many of you guys, I don't even have my screen. Let me switch to like the whole view. How many of you right now actually know your numbers? I mean, it's if you don't know your numbers, I'm going to tell you you're not alone. There's so many people, but like your numbers are going to give you power to make decisions. If you don't know your numbers, I'm going to challenge you and ask if maybe you don't want to know your numbers and that's why you don't know your numbers. But whew, I don't know. This was just a completely wild weekend. A lot of transformation, a lot of good information. I think of there's a couple of you on here that are doing some really big things, like some big production and numbers. If you all aren't buying rental properties and reducing your tax liabilities, I need to share with you a slide deck that I got. There's so many ways to be just reducing your tax liabilities and not and like purchasing properties instead of paying the IRS. But anyway, because this is Mindset Monday, let's shift back into the mindset piece of this. I'm sorry, I'm like wild. Um, I guess how many of you are where you really want to be today? When you sit back and you think about your life and your business, not just your numbers. We're talking about your day to day, what you're doing in your day to day. How many of you feel truly fulfilled, happy, and proud of where you're at today? I love that for you, Brooke. I absolutely love that for you, Brooke. But I think that,
I mean, but there's always room for growth.
yes,
So
yes,
I'm happy. I'm happy where I'm at and I'm thankful. But there's things I'm working on and both like personally and professionally. So, but I'm not in a point of being satisfied where I'm like not gonna keep on growing and doing more.
I love that. I think so many of us just sit and go through the motions and we don't ask ourselves why we're doing what we're doing. And we wake up day in and day out so incredibly unhappy with the way things are, but so lost. We don't know where to find that direction. We don't know what the next step is. So instead of going internal and figuring out what it is that you really want, we just numb ourselves and go through the motions. I was talking to Matt and Audra. Audra said, "You jumped out of a plane. How exciting is that?" And I'm like, I want to tell you guys that this was the most thrilling and exhilarating moment. And it was. It was like an epiphany kind of type of moment. Like, if I can do this, I can do anything. But in the moment of going up in that plane and jumping from the plane, you guys, I've lived my life so numb the last few months. I didn't feel like it was not as exciting as I feel like it should have been. I didn't feel a whole lot. And that to me was kind of awakening from like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I living my life in a way where I am jumping from a plane and I don't feel like this is the most fucking awesome thing that I'm doing right now? It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. But through walking through some things on the weekend, we did some breath work yesterday, guys, which is that was more terrifying to me than jumping from a plane because I had to turn inward and face some things that I have just been stuffing down for 40 years.
Can you briefly describe for people when you hear something like breath work? What does that mean for people that have never actually sat with an emotion for more than a minute?
Oh my gosh. Okay, yes. So we sat in a room, we had yoga mats. It was like if you're all not on the alternative side of things in terms of like being open-minded to doing things that are a little different, it was woo. There were yoga mats, we had pillows. You spend 15 minutes and all you do is breathe in your mouth, out your mouth at a pretty, like a more rapid pace than you normally would. And your body, they warned us before this, you're going to feel like you're having a panic attack, but it is not possible to have a panic attack while you're doing this. It's just your body basically is getting oxygenated in a way that it hasn't for a really long time. And so you sit there for 15 minutes and you're breathing in and out and your extremities go numb. And then all of a sudden, like for a lot of people, your muscles lock. It's just you're tapping into your inner self, your inner like your subconscious and really just activating some things. But the really cool part for me is the facilitator we had is a Christian. And he was able to tie this back in a way to like um the spirit, the Holy Spirit coming in and helping you kind of be clear on what you need. So that for me, I grew up Catholic. This was something that would have been like, oh my gosh, that's the devil kind of thing growing up, just the environment in the church that I grew up in. So for me, him being able to tie this back to Jesus and the Holy Spirit was really, really helped me be able to tap in. But I tapped in. I have some childhood traumas that I'm not ready to share with the world yet, but let me just tell you, I've been shoving them down for years and my body shook. And then you essentially see kind of just, you see things in a different way. I don't know how to explain it other than you're able to like get your mind to shut up and address the things that you need to see. And then you spend about 15 minutes kind of coming down from that afterwards and bringing your breath back and kind of normalizing. But it's an experience. I don't know. Cassie, have you done breath work before? Do you have a better way of explaining it than what I just did? I mean, it's essentially breathing and tapping into your inner self. But what do you have anything to add to that, Cassie?
I guess I'll start by saying you keep saying it's woo woo. It's not at all. It's science based. I mean, it's all about your parasympathetic nervous system and like getting your body in a state where it's calm enough to actually face those things. Um, yeah, it's really wild. You do feel like you're gonna have a panic attack, but you're not. I always leave feeling like I don't want to say high, but like high, like the best high you could ever possibly have, but naturally. Yeah, I don't know if that helps explain it at
No,
all, but
that's exactly what you're tapping into your parasympathetic nervous system.
yeah,
Many of us live in that fight or flight, and you can't see clearly in that fight or flight. Your body's just protecting you and in survival mode, right? That's why I felt numb when I dropped from a plane because I've been living my life in this fight or flight survival mode. So this was like an opportunity to just breathe and relax and like just let life be. I feel like I could go sit on a mountaintop and like, but it was so enlightening. And I did not have, most of the people in that room had that feeling of kind of a high. I did not. I left a little bit terrified, but clarity on things I need to work on. And a lot of people in that room saw things like they literally had, family members that have passed before that they really felt like they were getting some messages back from them, just like, hey, it's okay. I'm proud of you, you know, but it's absolutely life changing. But like I said, I left that event feeling like I was part of something bigger. And yesterday, uh, Brenningham did breath work with us too. And he said something that resonated well. I don't remember exactly how he said it, but he's like, I love that we tied faith back into this. And he tied it back into like David and Goliath, right? And how David wasn't made king by it just like putting a crown on him. He had to fight Goliath. And I wrote in myself like the things that I've been like fighting, that's my Goliath. Like I can do this. I can do this. So I if you guys have an opportunity to do breath work, I would highly recommend it. But I think even just challenging yourself and getting super clear on why are you doing what you're doing today? What is the end goal? What is your bigger purpose? And are you actually loving life and loving what you're doing? Or are you just doing it because someone else told you you should be doing it? Are you just doing it because you don't know what else to do? Just get really curious with yourself. It'll be uncomfortable. But I promise when you figure out like why you're doing what you're doing and where you want to go, life just all of a sudden makes sense like that. I'm going to pause for a minute because I'm like all over the place. I'd love for you guys to share anything. Like, do you feel, are there things or challenges that you are struggling with? Like, do you feel purpose? Do you feel like there's room for growth in that?
I can share. I'm driving, so sorry if it's loud. Um, well, I mean, my first feelings towards this is, well, there's a couple, but one of them is it's like, there's one other thing to add to the list. You know what I mean? Like I'm already doing a lot, so it's like here's one other thing to do. I don't do any of the breathwork stuff, um, but I was thinking, okay, if that was something that I wanted to incorporate, like where in my day am I supposed to come up with the time to do that? You know what I mean? Um, and so the second thing is, and it's really a question for you because obviously I didn't go to um, this retreat or place that you did for the weekend, but so how do you plan on keeping the same energy, now that you're not surrounded by those people? I haven't been there, but I've been in similar situations where it's very easy to, get hooked for a weekend
Yeah.
because everything's right. The people are right, the situations are right, and then you come back to, your reality.
Yeah.
Um, so how do you plan on, uh, you know, going forward and not falling back into, your reality as it is right now?
Yeah, I think that's a very fair question. I'm going to address your number two because that's a little bit easier than your number one, and then I'll go to your number one. I intentionally connected with people and intentionally got their information. We're actually going to form some groups where we're doing some accountability things together and tapping in. When you get really weird with people, like when you get really vulnerable and really open, you form these relationships where I don't know. There's just nothing but love for these people and you just want to continue to be in relationship with them. So because we experienced this together, and these people, a lot of these people have been together previously. These are quarterly events. So they're like stuck like glue. So I truly believe we'll be able to just continue to maintain those relationships because I had to put myself out there, ask for numbers, and like, let's do this. Like we just kind of talk about like how do we keep the momentum going. So I think it's all about the people we surround ourselves with, Ramil. Like we choose to be like we were made to be in community. So you've got to find your community and your people to help you keep that momentum rolling. So that's kind of thing two. Thing one, how do you find the time? I guess I would challenge you to flip that and say, how can you not find the time? If this is something that is going to radically change your life and the way that you do business and the way that you show up for your family and your clients, how do you not make the time for it?
I and a tie to that is it goes back to this. And this is true, and everyone on this call can attest to this. What we feel is important, we make time for. Period. If you feel like it's one more thing to the list, then that's what it'll be. If you feel like it is an opportunity to make everything else more meaningful, more passionate, more energetic, and allow you to be more present, more purposeful, and more connected to your family and your business, then guess what? There's priority. And at the end of the day, when we talk about like mindfulness practices or things like breath work or working out, we're talking about 10, 15, 20 minutes a day. I guarantee you, if you right now grabbed your phone and took a look at your screen time today, at the moment, like as of right now, you're over what it would take for a session of breath work or a session of mindfulness. So for me, it's when you understand the scientific, tactical benefits of getting into this stuff, you realize that it is the most strategic hack for high performance. What I found is that there are two ends of the spectrum here. There's the people that hide in the woo-woo stuff because they feel good when doing it, and then they go and do nothing. And then there's the people that are high performers that are just constantly churning transactions, and then they hide from the deep work because it's going to force them to have to deal with all the shit. And so the high performers will be like, I don't have time for that. And then there's the people that just like are addicted to it that don't have time for work. And there's an in between world that the highest performers in all areas are very, very connected to this stuff.
Yeah.
That's been my experience.
I look at like even Spring and Justin and Brandon, they make this a priority in their life. And these guys are running 20, I don't even know how many businesses Brandon has. I think he's got like thousands of doors. And I think he's part of like, I can't remember. I didn't write down the number, but like a ridiculous amount.
Hard money. They do finance. They do
Yeah.
private financing. They do title and mortgage. He
Yeah.
does. He's completely vertically integrated in his businesses.
Yeah. So I have to believe if they can find the time to do it. And breath work isn't something you do every day. Breath work is like a kind of like a tune up, right? You want to do it fairly regularly, but you don't do it like every day, like weekly, monthly, right? But it's more the meditation practice, the journaling, those kind of things that are important to add in. So like Matt said, Ramil, if you can just take and peel away 10 minutes a day to like journal and get really clear on what's in your head and your heart, that is a great.
There's a there's one book that changed my world completely around this, and it's called 10% Happier, and it's written by a guy named Dan Harris, who was an anchor on some massive news network, and he had a panic attack on live TV. And he's like, he also wrote a book around meditation for the for the fidgety skeptic. And so he is the epitome of like the high D, high driver. I don't have time for this. This is nonsense. Into holy smokes. Like, this is actually going to be the cure. Like, this is actually allowing me to sleep again. This is stopping my panic attacks. This is stopping my ADHD, like bringing calm and connection back. My like neurons are actually slowing down, firing and wiring together. Like, if you feel like you're driven by chaos, then any moment of slowdown feels like a waste of time, as opposed to making rest and mindfulness mandatory, not an option. It's not a luxury.
One, as a result of this, you'll start finding more time in your day. I know it sounds silly, but we waste so much mind space on things that we don't need to waste. We only have so many thoughts per day. Our brain can only process so many thoughts per day. And this is going to be a way of clearing that clutter from your mind and actually giving you back more time in your day through your increased productivity. You'll be able to think clearer and do more. I don't, I just challenge you, Ramil, to find like 10 or 15 minutes a day and just get started. And then I'm going to see, like, I'm going to try to get my team to do some breath work here. We're going to find someone here that can do breath work with us. So if you want to join, I don't know if we can get Kevin sucked into this. We'll see. You might be the only guy. But if you want to join us, I think we just find some time and like just try it out and see. Anybody else have any thoughts, questions?
Thank you for being so vulnerable with us here because that's hard one. And I think there's a lot of feelings, a lot of things that you have said, like feeling like you don't belong in this room, like those kinds of feelings that we all, every single one of us deals with and struggles with. And man, I have those thoughts a lot. And so thank you for just sharing the hard things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
You know, I think we all get better as human beings when we're vulnerable, when we don't just share. Like we don't want to turn our Facebook pages into a pity party, so we often share the highlight reel. But I think this is how we get better in life by like connecting on a really vulnerable level and saying, "Hey, I'm struggling here. What have you done to make this better? What have you done? How did you get through this?" Because often we're not going to find the answers within ourselves, but there's often people in our world that are going to have the answers for us. So I don't know why, as human beings, we tend to like revert and go internal and try to find those answers and make ourselves feel like we're the only ones when there's so many people out there who like look at it. Audra and Matt and I don't do this because we like hearing ourselves talk. We do this because we want to grow a community of people that we want to share our lives with you in hopes that you take something from it and you grow too. I mean, that's what life is about. So most people want to grow, most people want to share and help you. So I think just get comfortable getting vulnerable. Find your people, find your tribe of people that you can be vulnerable with. So I guess thank you guys for letting me feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable. Awesome. How many of you guys would like to do a business planning strategy session? And like we probably need to do it in like early to mid-November, where we dive deep into your numbers if you have them and kind of get into pods of people that can help each other grow. Cool. All right. More to come on that. Because I overtook Mindset Monday, Matt's going to take over Workshop Wednesday. He's got some fun stuff coming too. So we will see you guys on Wednesday. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Bye, y'all.